crash near here, igniting suspicion and speculation that are with us today. The summer of 1947 had seen a wave of UFO sightings worldwide, the first time anybody had kept track of them. Then suddenly, on the morning of July 8th, this headline sent shockwaves around the globe, based on a press release from Roswell Army Headquarters, home of the only U.S. atomic bomber wing.
In essence, it read something to the effect that we had in our possession a flying saucer.
Walter Haut, then an Army lieutenant, wrote the press release. It was picked up and repeated everywhere, letting the world know that debris from a UFO had been found by a rancher north of Roswell. It was the first documented UFO crash in human history. Intelligence officer Jesse Marcel, now dead, tried to bend parts of the wreckage with a sledgehammer.
The sledge bounced off of this little I-beam, not scratching it, bending it, or in any way having changed its physical appearance.
That ridge over there marks the spot where the UFO supposedly crashed back in 1947. A lot of time has passed, and there's no evidence on the ground that that actually occurred. In fact, all evidence was quickly removed by the military, and the public record rewritten the very next day on official orders.
The second press release, in essence, stated that we were mistaken, that this was not a flying saucer, but a weather balloon.
A weather balloon? Rumors later surfaced about a second UFO crash and the removal of dead aliens to Roswell Airport. Military officials supposedly brought alien bodies to this hangar right off the airstrip. The FBI wrote 2 vague reports about the incident, which we've obtained, but the government has released no other information on Roswell and says none exists. Congressman Steve Schiff of New Mexico thinks the government should fess up.
I cannot say that the Roswell incident was a cover-up, but I can certainly say that the government back then and today acted like it was a cover-up and has been subject to being accused of a cover-up.
Roswell, in fact, has become synonymous with official secrecy and the government's dismissive attitude towards UFOs. Ironically, though, right after the incident, the government began taking UFO sightings seriously.
They were concerned. Clearly, if somebody could penetrate our airspace, that's of concern.
In 1952, 1,500 UFO sightings were recorded around the world, including over the nation's capital. According to this secret document, the CIA feared widespread panic and called for a government effort to discredit UFO reports publicly so as to keep the nation calm. By 1969, the Air Force had completed what some critics saw as a cover-up for this purpose. It issued an unclassified report, Project Blue Book, saying there was no proof for alien UFOs and that all intelligence reporting on them would stop. It didn't. Sightings continue, sometimes over U.S. nuclear bases, as documented in these once secret files from the Strategic Air Command, known as SAC.
There are a number of reports that during the roughly 1975 wave at SAC bases across the country, that the aiming mechanism was found to be changed after the saucer had left.
To some, that raised the prospect of an accidental nuclear blast triggered by a UFO. No wonder government UFO reports remain classified. Our crusade to get to the truth took us next deep into the Nevada desert. This desolate highway leads to what some say is the ultimate UFO secret, a supposedly non-existent U.S. airbase called Dreamland, home of some of America's spy aircraft, like the SR-71. Until it was decommissioned a few years ago, it might have been mistaken for a UFO. Aircraft like it still fly out of the base. The final miles to Dreamland are over rough terrain. Off in the distance, strange dust devils pursue us. We stay on public property. Even so, armed patrols and unmarked vehicles come out to watch and to give chase at high speed. Can I talk to him? A road sensor hidden on public land is found by our guide, Glen Campbell, an activist against government secrecy.
It lets them know when someone is approaching their border.
Well, it's quite clear. The government doesn't want someone to come here. This is a game of cat and mouse. At one point, we turn the tables and chase our unidentified pursuers right to the edge of Dreamland. But the barriers go up. once again, our search for the truth about UFOs is met with official resistance. Finally, we retreat to a distant ridge and get our first glimpse of the secret base, enhanced here with long-range photography.
I see a series of large hangars and radar installations along the dry lake bed.
Some UFO experts say captured alien spacecraft are stored here and used for testing purposes.
The largest of these hangars is about 60 feet high. It's referred to officially as Hangar 18, which indicates that someone has a sense of humor, because Hangar 18 was supposedly the place that the alien wreckage was brought to from the Roswell air crash.
Our guide, Glen Campbell, thinks if UFOs are kept here, the government should level with us.
I don't see how any knowledge is going to really rock the foundations of humanity. The government is the employee of the people. It is not the manager of the people.
In a moment, we'll show you the exclusive Russian intelligence documents that reveal what they knew about UFOs. And we ask you to join our crusade to open the files now.
When we return, our crusade to open the UFO files.
The entire Soviet Union was one gigantic UFO listening post.
The secret KGB documents that reveal how UFOs almost started a nuclear war.
For years, we've shown that our government has been documenting UFO sightings. Now we're about to show you exclusive files from Russian intelligence that reveal what they know and believe about UFOs. We continue our crusade to open the secret UFO files. Ironically, while our own government stays silent about UFOs, some of our old enemies are talking. With the breakup of the Soviet Union, Russian intelligence experts are beginning to reveal what they know about UFOs and about American UFO secrets.
The American program, according to Russian sources, was an active program. We had 40 listening posts created specifically to look for UFOs.
Journalist George Knapp traveled to Russia recently to examine their secret UFO files and gave the Crusaders an exclusive look at his findings. He also met with Colonel Boris Sokolov, who says he studied UFOs for the Soviet Ministry of Defense for 10 years.
They know that we've been intercepting information from satellites. They know that we know that this phenomenon is real, although we won't admit it.
One of Knapp's discoveries had to do with Roswell.
Joseph Stalin called in his top scientists to take a look at the evidence. Evidence collected from what he called special channels, meaning spies in America.
Russian military experts discounted the weather balloon theory almost immediately. They believed UFOs from outer space crashed here, and the United States was pursuing a cover-up to prevent widespread panic. According to previously secret Russian files, inside the old Soviet Union itself, 4,000 UFO sightings have been plotted. Proof that UFOs are serious business there. So serious, it's hard to believe our own government isn't paying equal attention to them.
They are beyond the question of whether UFOs are real or not. They know they're real. They want to figure out how they work so they can get an edge up on us. What we were told by Colonel Boris Sokolov was that the entire Soviet Union, in essence, was one gigantic UFO listening post. The order went down from the Ministry of Defense. Every UFO sighting, every anomalous aircraft, every ball of light, anything weird in the skies has to be fully investigated, witnesses interrogated, and all of that information was funneled to one central location. Over this 10-year period, thousands and thousands of reports poured in.
Most of them, says Knapp, were studied for military use. He also learned about a chilling UFO encounter at a Soviet ICBM nuclear missile base in the Ukraine in October 1982.
Right before the UFOs decided to take off, the launch control panel at this ICBM base lit up. All the code sequences were entered by some unknown force. In essence, these missiles were ready to go.
In 1975, there were reported overflights of our nuclear installations. Did the Soviets know about that?
I'm sure they did. I'm certain that they did.
Knapp says Russian officials in the late 1980s began deliberately leaking their own UFO secrets.
Well, the Soviets were reaching out to us. We should cooperate, in essence, is what they were saying. We should cooperate on the subject of UFOs so that there isn't an accident that triggers World War III.
All of which makes us wonder, if the Russians can open their UFO files, why can't we?
But I also kept having these recurring nightmares that involved these feelings of helplessness.
For people like Rusty Hudson, who believe they've been contacted by alien life, the secrecy surrounding UFOs is particularly painful.
If I would try to sleep on my back, after a few minutes I would start to have like panic attacks. I'd wake up and just be thrashing my arms around.
Without some openness from the government, Rusty can never put his experience to rest. He and others like him may be the ultimate eyewitnesses to what the government doesn't want you to know. We found others to join our crusade to get the truth out, including Omni Magazine, a respected journal of popular science. Editor Keith Farrell believes an effort at openness should begin with Roswell. With our support, he's issuing a declaration calling for a White House directive declassifying all Roswell files.
Specifically, the Roswell Declaration, it gives the chance to the public to call for an executive order declassifying any materials related to UFOs or possible extraterrestrial visitors.
Our crusade has also found an ally on Capitol Hill. Representative Steve Schiff of New Mexico is asking Congress's investigative arm to look into the Roswell story.
I want to stress that to me, this is not an issue of flying saucers. This is an issue of government being accountable for information that it has to the American public.
Let's get some hard scientific evidence, look at what we know already, and reignite interest in our place in the universe, in whether we are or are not alone.
We need your help if we're going to get the UFO files opened. Write Congressman Schiff and support his investigation of the Roswell cover-up. Become a crusader by signing the Roswell Declaration and sending it directly to the White House, demanding that President Clinton open the UFO files. The declaration is already being circulated in newspapers in Russia, and Omni Magazine has already joined our crusade by offering a copy of the declaration to anyone who writes us. We'll have those addresses for you at the end of the program.
It certainly is a fascinating subject, and I think we could all benefit from more information.
If something's happening out there, we should know about it.
I certainly want to know about it. Thank you,
Okay.
Howard.
Good.
We'll be back in just a moment. Please stay with us.